Are we back live streaming? Yeah. Okay. Well, welcome back everybody from the break. Thank you for that. So we continue with our questions, Commissioner. Mr. Kraviatz, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Justice delayed is justice denied. Recent reports indicate nationally that cases awaiting to be heard in both magistrates and Crown courts have been delayed exponentially. Is this the case in Lincolnshire, and what actions and pressures are you taking to alleviate the situation if it's necessary? Because the courts aren't part of your process, your powers.
Well, if only courts were part of my powers, that would be quite some of them.
Administration of justice.
But no, it is a really, really important question, and I think court backlogs are a significant risk to justice generally for the public. Magistrates have fared, it's fair to say, much better than Crown courts. And obviously the complexity of the Crown court cases is a significant factor in that. I think obviously the data that's is often shared with us is often shared with us in a way that means we can't share it, which is problematic. And I'll be honest, I don't think it's as transparent for the public as it could be. But that's not my decision. It sits within the judiciary more than with me. What we have done is move to a model where we had a regional criminal justice board, which actually was quite good at looking at the bigger strategic issues across the East Midlands. But we've recently moved to a more localised model. So we still have a regional criminal justice board that meets 6 monthly to talk about the wider, more strategic issues. But we now have a Lincolnshire criminal justice board, which is currently co-chaired by my deputy, Phil Clark, who is sort of dealing with the criminal justice areas for me, and also ACC Chris Davison. The legislation is probably going to change fairly soon to say that PCCs, and by extension their deputies, have to chair criminal justice boards, but we're already doing it in Lincolnshire. So we've set up a mechanism really to work with partners across the criminal justice system to look at the issues that are delaying appropriate outcomes across the piece. So I suppose when you say what are we doing, well, we've set up a local criminal justice board, we're working in partnership to tackle the issues as they present. Actually, Lincolnshire's figures against others and the East Midlands are looking good, best in region. So we aren't doing badly in that wider context, but we do need to do more. The other thing I think we need to try and do is deal with things appropriately in a way that leads to the best possible outcome, and that doesn't always mean going to court. And I don't think nationally we get this right yet. I think there are a number of areas that we could do better in. One area that I have very recently mentioned to ministers that I would like to explore, and I think this would be helpful, is around drink driving. We have the evidential tests done in the police station, and yet you can wait months to get to court to find that you will obviously lose your licence. Makes no sense to me. Why are we filling the courts up? Why are we delaying justice? Why are we leaving people on the roads who would accept themselves that they're guilty of drink driving? It makes much more sense that some kind of summary option is available once people are sober enough to understand the ramifications, where maybe they could lose their licence immediately, but for a slightly lesser term than if they went through the court process. We could take thousands of people out of the court process by doing those kind of things. We all know if you've had small children, saying to them, well, I'll tell you off for that in 3 months' time is absolutely useless. You put them on the naughty step immediately and deal with it. And that instant cause and effect is what ultimately changes behaviour. Yet, in elements of the justice system, we seem to do it the other way around. So I think there are areas where we can still free up court time, expedite justice appropriately, and speed up. So I guess I'm active at that national level, trying to work to do those. Active at the local level in making sure that our system is as efficient and effective as it can be.
Thank you for that answer.
Thank you very much. Next question, Councillor Bailey, please.
What is the latest position and development of the funding formula, particularly for rural areas?
Yeah, the good old funding formula, which is a significant issue to us. The work has been ongoing for some significant time nationally to reform the funding formula, and they sort of created two separate groups. One is the strategic steering group, and the other one is the technical group that's looking at actually crunching the numbers and going, well, what would be the ramifications of including that if we did it as this percentage or that percentage, what would it do? So I sit nationally on the steering group, which is led by the senior finance lead for the Home Office, who ultimately will be responsible for developing the new formula. We're at the point now where it's all the factors have been considered. A new formula in its principal state is there. We now need the Home Office to go and consult on this. So they are due to consult any time on the how. So do we think the way we've come up with the formula is correct? So they will consult nationally on that, and I would expect that to be a public consultation nationally. And then following that, they will do a consultation on that, and this is what it means. So at this stage, I can't be definitive about when it will be introduced, but there is still a clear commitment from ministers at this stage to introduce a new funding formula in this Parliament. That is their stated objective. It's constantly reiterated, and certainly speaking to officials, that's their understanding of the mission they've been given. So at this stage, we know that within the Parliament, so before January 2025, there should be a new funding formula. Realistically, though, what we need to factor in is how that happens. So if it said, and I will make it up, let's say it's in Lincolnshire, you're going to get an extra £20 million. That means somebody else somewhere else loses £20 million. It won't be more money coming in. It will literally be a redistribution process, I would suspect, unless the Treasury suddenly decide to put several £100 million into the system. They can only do that through a process called damping, which means that they will phase it in over a number of years. So they might say, well, over the next 4 or 5 years, you'll get an increment more and you will get an increment less, so that it gives you time to manage that transition. So it might be some significant time before Lincolnshire gets a full effect of a funding formula, even if it was positive for us.
Okay, thank you. Final question this morning. Oh, sorry, Councillor Woodliffe.
Chairman, can I ask one question on that?
Yeah, of course.
Is this new formula likely to benefit Lincolnshire or not? I'm thinking about the last time this idea was presented, a certain Boris Johnson, I think, stepped in to squash it because his particular area would lose significant amount of cash. So are we going to be in the same ballpark again? Are we going to be, two questions, are we going to be better off with this one? Is it going to go down the same bug hole that it did with Mrs. May and Boris Johnson, I think? That's my question. Two questions, sorry about that, Chairman.
Yeah, firstly, the political point you make is incorrect. It has nothing to do with Boris Johnson. What it was to do with was that the chief executive of the OPCC in Devon and Cornwall actually found a flaw in the formula that was being suggested that hadn't been spotted up until then. And it was then agreed by the Home Office that there was sufficient flaw that it could mean a legal challenge would be successful. Therefore, it wasn't possible for them to lay the new formula into bringing it to being. So that's what scuppered the last funding formula as a technical mistake, if you like, on behalf of the people that designed the formula, which is why it's taken such a long time this time to go through all the whys and wherefores, because they're pretty determined not to be in the same space again. Whenever you introduce a new formula, it means if there are winners and losers, the losers will not be happy. What you need to make sure, if you're in the position of dictating that there will be winners and losers, is that it's been dealt with fairly, appropriately, and nobody's going to sue you successfully for the change. So I guess that's where they're at. As to whether it would benefit Lincolnshire, all I can say is the factors that we've been working through that weren't really part of the old formula, some of those are supportive of the kind of county Lincolnshire is. So not specifically Lincolnshire, because my job is obviously in that national level to represent much wider group. But for example, things like seasonality, length of road network, sparsity, all those kind of things are things we've tried to make sure of at least being considered as part of the process. Ultimately, it comes down to a political decision by the minister as to which factors take primacy in the formula. So, for example, one of the things that was in the old one, or the current one, is how many pubs there are per square mile. That's not massively helpful to a big rural county. So hopefully some of those will be taken out or will have less primacy, and other ones which would be supportive of a more rural county, I would hope, will take a stronger element as part of the calculation. So, but it's a ministerial decision that I'm afraid that's above my grade to dictate.
Perhaps it'd be helpful to have more cabbages per square mile. That might improve it.
Perhaps it was. Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Wood, do you want to come in on this point?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Commissioner, I know on your report that you were doing a review on CCTV in August this year. CCTV produced as many positive results, many attempts to get arrested throughout the county through CCTV. My residents are calling for these CCTV areas to be expanded in towns. Can you tell me if you're considering this at all? Thank you.
Thank you for the question. I mean, we know that CCTV can do some really, really good things, not least of which can help find very vulnerable missing people very quickly, which can save lives. It can help find perpetrators. It can help prevent crime under certain circumstances. But what we've had in Lincolnshire are a series of different systems around the county that don't necessarily all talk to each other or talk to a central controlling point. And what we've done is commission a report working with our district council colleagues to actually say, well, what do we all have? What does it do? What are our aspirations for what we'd like to see it do in the future? Where are the gaps? That's not because I've got a big wad of money waiting to throw additional CCTV as much as I'd love to have. What it does mean is that through various funding opportunities, we will be able to be in a state of readiness to apply for any funding when the opportunity strikes. So the Safer Streets funding has been really, really helpful in bringing additional millions into Lincolnshire for projects such as CCTV expansion. What we want to do is look at that in a coordinated county way, so that we can bid for the very best things that will help us all as a partnership keep communities safe. And I would love to see it expanded. I mean, obviously, again, not just our larger areas, but our towns around Lincolnshire as well would benefit from enhancing this. But it's got to be done in a controlled and appropriate way for privacy, but also it's got to be done in a joined up way. One of the key elements as well of the programme we're looking at is to look at opportunities of creating efficiencies for district colleagues. So where they've all got control rooms and they've all got people in them, are there smarter ways we can do that to save them money so they can spend that money on other things for the benefit of the public? So I share your aspirations, have more of it where it's appropriate. What we need to do is get our ask right, and that is what we're doing. So I'm sort of using that position I hold to work with colleagues to bring them together to actually look at what we need next.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wootton. That completes our questions, Commissioner. So thank you for your attendance today, and thank you for your very comprehensive responses to a wide variety of questions. And we wish you well, both locally and nationally, on achieving a proper funding formula for the police service. Yes.
If I could just add one other thing, thank you for your comments. It would be remiss of me, and forgive me, I thought I might get a question on this, so I was expecting to get a question on the state of readiness for Lincolnshire Police for the substantial change that potentially will come with RAF Scampton being readopted as part of Home Office plans to house people that are seeking asylum there. And it was just really to assure the panel that the Chief Constable and I meet on a regular basis to discuss a number of things, and this is obviously one of those. I'm aware of the plans that the Chief has put together as to what they need, both from supporting the community locally, supporting the individuals that might well be housed there from victimisation because they'll be vulnerable and susceptible to criminal groups, and obviously the wider concerns of the public regarding their feeling as well as actuality of safety. In addition to that, I sit on a weekly meeting with a leadership group who involves the council leader, chief executive, etc., across West Lindsey and Lincoln and county, where we're all discussing these issues in the round, that progress we're making to work with the Home Office. I make no comment on whether I think it's the right thing in the right place. My job is to obviously make sure that the Chief Constable has the right resources to tackle it, and as part of that I've been having robust discussions with the Home Office, and by extension that goes to both immigration and policing, and ultimately to the Home Secretary. And I'm confident that in the next few days we should conclude those negotiations, which should provide additional support to Lincolnshire Police as a result of those talks. So I can't give you detail today because I'm waiting for letters to arrive from ministers, but I have a high level of confidence that the police will be in a good position to support the community through any challenges we face.
Thank you very much for that, Commissioner. I was chairing a meeting yesterday at the Public Protection Board where we had a presentation, and there clearly are still a lot of unknowns for the county. But perhaps at our September meeting, when hopefully there will be more knowns, you could come back and update the panel. Two members want to come in. Councillor Burke.
Thanks, Chair. We generally try to avoid political questions as such here. This is obviously a very political issue. You're an elected competition commissioner. And I'm interested to know really what level of consultation has taken place. I'm aware of the level of consultation in terms of the City Council and is it West Lindsey I should be mentioning, and both those bodies have said consultation has been woefully inadequate. So I'd be interested in your view if a proper level of consultation took place with yourselves. And I appreciate you can't necessarily talk for the police constable because we wouldn't want to involve in a political debate. But certainly that would be a question that I'd be very interested in.
I suppose the direct answer to that would be it's always difficult when you get ministerial decisions being made. They're not going to share with anybody before they share with their parliamentary colleagues what they plan to do. And so by the nature of these kind of things, when they're quite fast moving, it means that we're always playing a little bit of catch up because you get consulted after an announcement rather than before. But I think that's just a necessary evil of working in the system that we have. The parliamentary democracy, it's right that their colleagues hear about these things at the earliest. I would say that my access to ministers to discuss this has been absolutely superb. Any request I've made to speak to the minister regarding this issue has never been denied. I've been able to speak directly one-on-one, two-on-one with the police minister and Home Secretary together. So from that point of view, I'd say that Lincolnshire has had an appropriate level of access from the Police and Crime Commissioner to ministers. In addition, I've spoken directly to Director Generals within the Home Office. I've spoken directly to the finance leads within the Home Office. We've had the entire finance team come down from the Home Office to Lincolnshire Police to look at the financial challenges that we were setting out for them. So the level of engagement from that perspective has been excellent. It's fair to say I think the team at the Home Office that have been tasked with this are hard pressed. They've got a lot on their plate, not just with Lincolnshire, but across the board. And I think I have to say they've got an unenviable task in front of them. But there's never been a point at which I felt that I couldn't get information that somebody had to give, if you see what I mean. There's always information that they just don't know at that point in time that I would love to have. But if they've known about a thing, I've been able to get it as far as I'm aware.
Councillor Marsh, please.
Thank you, Chairman. Going on, Commissioner, you would expect me to say something about the housing of migrants because we have had an enforcement at Skegness without any prior notification, or at least not any meaningful notification. And I would just ask that when you're doing your consultation and you're talking, that you don't forget where they are already there and that we get an appropriate amount of policing to look after them in our holiday area, because it does cause a problem. And I'm not aware that any consultation was done at all with the police getting extra resources to spring this when we got 5 hotels for them. So all I'm saying is, could you please include the problems of the coast if they're going to continue using hotels, which I understand they are, in with your conversations?
Yeah, I mean, it is, as you say, a national challenge when they've obviously chosen to use hotel accommodation. It's a difficult situation. They've got to put people somewhere, and so they chose to do it in a particular way. It was very last minute. It made it difficult for agencies to put appropriate support around the individuals and indeed to inform the community what was going on. So that was less than ideal, and that, you know, the Home Office would agree that it was less than ideal. What we don't know at this point is whether the Scampton plans will make any difference to the number of people that are housed elsewhere in the county. We don't know. But one thing that is really useful for the East Coast summer situation, there is now a published plan by the Chief Constable specifically looking at what Lincolnshire Police are proposing to do for the summertime period, which clearly sets out in a very, very clear way what the Chief Constable's ambition is for policing of the county in summer, but in particular the east of the county. So if you, I don't know whether you've already got that document, but it certainly is something that is published, and it will be really useful in highlighting what additional support the east will get from Lincolnshire Police.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. It's useful to know that it has been looked at, and I'll put the document down. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Commissioner, once again for your comprehensive responses and that latest briefing on the situation for Scampton. Thank you. Okay, we'll now move on to item 11 on our agenda, the complete position statement. Mr. Birch, thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I've got nothing to add to the report of the State Service Secretary.
Okay, thank you. So I think it was just a point we got around a complaint hadn't been recorded, but I don't think our monitoring officer. Oh, he's got the information he wants, so that's fine.
Thank you. You did share everything so that you. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Birch, for that. Thank you very much. Okay, so we'll now move on to, and thank you for your attendance today. You must be very busy with your other role in the NHS.
It's all good fun.
It always is. So moving on to item 12 very quickly, appointment of representative to the National Association of Police, Fire and Crime Panels. You will recall that Councillor Susan Rearing was our representative. So do we have any nominations? Councillor Wood?
Thank you, Chairman. Councillor Chris Burke. I've known Chris since 1977. We were in the Air Force together.
They're giving it away now.
1907. And it's seconded by Mr. Kravitz. All in favour? Are there any other nominations?
That's it then.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Moving quickly then to item 13, the work programme. It's all laid out in the document, and you'll see in the September meeting we've got the Safer Lincolnshire Partnership are giving us a presentation, and we'll be reviewing the PCC's annual report, and we will also have his police and crime plan update as well. And maybe well, hopefully by September, we'll have an update on the position at RF Scampton as well. So there is a scrutiny of a strategic topic for the November meeting. And we'll perhaps discuss that at the September meeting and what we would like to discuss in November. So that's the work plan, unless anybody's got any points they'd like to make work programme? No?
Can I just give my apologies for the September meeting, actually revisiting our largest prison.
You say you go to prison, Greg?
Yeah, in Australia.
Thank you.
Your convict relatives.
Thank you for that, councillor Marsh. So the date of the next meeting is Friday, the 22nd of September, and the meeting will start, the public meeting will start at 11 a.m. So thank you very much to everybody for your attendance today. It's been a really good meeting, a lot of topics discussed, a wide variety of topics, current topics, both locally actually and nationally. We have discussed today the national situation, some of the topics around the National Police Service, which has been quite important. So thank you for that.
Well, thank you, you're chairing, Chair.
Yes, thank you very much. Can you inform me when we stop live streaming, please?